have to understand that money is an energy, money is a frequency. And when you learn how to increase your frequency, that's how you get in alignment with money. I thought I was living my dream life, right? I'm in school for finance, I'm working on Wall Street. But when I looked around and I realized the people next to me weren't the people that I wanted to grow into. I believe that exposure is everything. And once you've been exposed, you can't be unexposed. I learned that money sitting is dead, right? Money is a currency, it's supposed to be moving. So yeah, I felt comfortable having a little money in the bank, but now what do we do to take this money and put some gasoline on it to accelerate that growth? I say that wealth building is a team sport. So that means that you need your team around you. You need an accountant, you need a trusted attorney, you need lawyers, right? You need these people that are gonna help you when you get in a jam. You know, people that are working at Walmart have 6 figures, 7 figures in their retirement accounts, and it's because they did one thing. And that one thing was to...
Welcome to another episode of Access Granted, where I give you exclusive access to entrepreneurs that are killing it in their industry. Today, I am super excited because I have a new friend, Dr. Shaniqua Nicole, who is going to bless us with some just tax strategies and information about how she's been able to just execute in her entrepreneur journey. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Coquet. I appreciate you for having me. I love your platform, and I'm just honored to be here today.
No problem. So I just want to dive right in because I'm getting to know you.
Yes,
we are running around in the same circles and same spaces. I see you in all of these amazing rooms with 7, 8, and 9 figure entrepreneurs. But I want to know more about you, but I also wanted to introduce you to my audience as well because you're doing amazing work. And I think they need to connect with you. Be one of your rich friends, right?
Yes.
So tell me more about Dr. Shaniqua Nicole.
Yes. So I am a tax and wealth strategist. I've been in the financial industry for 19 years. Started working on Wall Street when I was 19. And, 19 years later, I found myself just having some amazing friends, amazing clients, and have really been able to create an impact in our community, helping our community build wealth. So I created a community called Rich Friends.
Love it.
Yes, because, what I realize is that your network is truly your net worth. I know that sounds super cliche, but as I've, increased in ranks of friendship and business, and my clients, I realized that the people that you hang around really do have an impact on your wealth building journey. So I'm super grateful, to have that. And I bring those amazing people to my community.
That's amazing. I always love to connect with people who started in a corporate setting.
Yes.
You talked about being in Wall Street because there's somebody that's out there that's watching this right now and they're working a 9 to 5 and they're just fed up. So I always like connecting with other entrepreneurs who took that leap of faith, right? That mustard seed of faith that you have to just go to the next stage. What was your transition like from Wall Street to just being your own entrepreneur?
Yeah.
And just taking that leap of faith?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started working on Wall Street when I was 19. I thought that I was just going to, work a little summer job, to be quite honest. And then my manager, he was like, he loves me. And he really was super supportive of me going to college. And he's like, listen, if you go to, you go to school, we'll work with your schedule. So we'll make your schedule flexible. I was working from home back at 19. Wow. I worked from home 1 day a week. I went to school 4 days a week. And, it was really, I thought I was living my dream life, right? I'm in school for finance. I'm working on Wall Street. I have a great job and a great trajectory, right, to do more. But when I looked around and I realized like the people next to me weren't the people that I wanted to grow into, right? Mm-hmm. And so maybe they're 10, 15 years my elder and they have like 2, 3 children and a house and all the bills. And I'm just like, well, I don't know if this is where I want to be, right? So very early on in my career, I realized that just having a job wasn't enough. So I started my side hustle. And this was my tax business. So I started a tax business and, just servicing people that were my peers. And started doing taxes because I had my apartment. I got my paperwork from school, my 1098T from school. Went across the street. We didn't have an accountant in the family. Right? Went across the street to my local H&R Block, and they charged me like $600 to do my taxes.
Really?
Yes. And that just sparked something in my head because I'm like, I don't have any children. I didn't have a business. I didn't have anything. I just had my school, and they charged me like $600 to do my taxes, but I didn't know any better. So I couldn't fight or anything, but it sparked something in me to say, listen, I'm paying $30,000 a year to go to school. I know I can do this myself. And so I literally just started my tax business, and it has just it's really been up from there. Now my transition was when I was about 30. I had moved here to Atlanta, and I was starting my family, and I ended up working the day that I delivered my son. I had a full day at work. I left to go, to my doctor's appointment, and I'm getting ready. Like I'm like 39 weeks, 40 weeks, and so I know I'm getting ready to have my son. But I realized that day, so my water broke while I was working, and I realized that day, like, there's really I have no control. I have no control, and I had money because I had been doing my business for about 10 years. So I had money, I had the job, I had the stability, but I realized that I was scared. I realized that I had so much fear around, just needing to have that paycheck. And I knew that I wanted to take time out to be a mom and to find rest and to find freedom. And so literally that day, and that was about 10 years ago, something switched in my mind where I felt like I've got to figure out entrepreneurship for real. I had been treating my little side hustle like a side hustle. I really wasn't trying to make a business out of it. I was making good money. I was making six figures on my side hustle, but I didn't have the mindset of like a business owner. And so 10 years ago, that struck in my mind like I need to figure out who's going to help me take this thing to the next level.
That's good. I share a similar story. Started a business while working my corporate job. I started a child care center, and I treated it like a side hustle. I didn't lock all the way in. And I tell people all the time, it wasn't until I, one, had that shift in mindset, and two, really went all in
Yeah.
on that business, was I was able to truly take off. So I love that you share that passion of just locking in on your dreams and locking in on your journey. But I want to dive into just some wealth strategies, right? Because
Yeah.
I think that's what you're queen of.
Yes, ma'am.
Is just trying to just really just showing entrepreneurs, and not just entrepreneurs, but people in general, just some strategies to build wealth. What would be maybe like three key components, like how to start or what to do, and
Yeah.
what is wealth strategy? There's
Right.
somebody watching this right now, and they're like, what's wealth strategy,
Yeah.
and how do I
Well,
dive into this?
I believe that we all deserve to be wealthy. And, sometimes we don't know that we have the opportunity. We think this is for somebody that doesn't look like us. I'm a girl from Trenton, New Jersey. I grew up in the projects to teenage parents, right? And now I've been doing what I do, working in the financial industry, helping people become millionaires for almost 20 years. So wealth is for you, right? So the first thing that you said is mindset. Absolutely. Definitely mindset is super important because, I believe that exposure is everything. And once you've been exposed, you can't be unexposed. So when I was really young, I knew that the environment that I was in wasn't for me. So I always exposed myself to different environments, whether that be going to conferences, doing different networking events in my community, just to put myself around that energy. We have to understand that money is an energy, money is a frequency. And when you learn how to increase your frequency, that's how you get in alignment with money. Yeah, first thing is going to be money, right? Next is going to be having a plan. So often, what I've learned, especially with our people, is that we fail we fail from not having a plan, right? Our plan first starts off with our budget. So you get a budget. That means you're telling your money what to do, right? So often we look at money and we don't have a love for it. So we have to learn how to fall in love with our money, right? And so what that looks like is it's saying, number one, you pay yourself first. After every paycheck, my first manager, he told me this on Wall Street, never live paycheck to paycheck. And so my goal is to help my clients get to saving 20%. Imagine if you're making $80,000 and you save 20% of your paycheck a year, you're saving 16,000. Now, by the time you look up over 10 years, most people have been on their job over 10 years, right? So by the time you look up 10 years, you're six figures in. And now you have this, I call it FU money. So now you have a little FU money
I love
so
that.
that, whether your job is ready to say FU or you're ready to say FU to your job, you have that security and you have a little cushion for yourself. So definitely building out that financial plan, investing. We think that so often in our community, we are so short-minded and we don't have the long-term vision. But what I learned working on Wall Street, I used to manage like retirement plans for Walmart, for a Kroger, right? So like grocery stores or like these big companies. But I saw the behind the scenes of how average people really built wealth. And, we think that you have to make a lot of money to do that, but you don't. People that are working at Walmart have 6 figures, 7 figures in their retirement accounts, and it's because they did one thing. And that one thing was to take money out of their paycheck and pay themselves first, so that when they're ready to retire, now you have that money to save you later. I tell my kids this all the time: save your money now, it'll save you later.
That's really good. I have a new book, Fired to Freedom,
Yes.
and it talks about my journey of being fired from corporate America and transitioning into entrepreneurship. And one of the things that I talk about was not having FU money, right? And so I love that you hit that point because I wasn't prepared. I thought I was going to work for Wells Fargo until I retired. I thought
Really?
that that this was the career path for me. It was I thought being in the financial world was what I was truly capable of. I just didn't forecast and see entrepreneurship. But inside of here, I talk about, strategies and things that I wish I had in place. And
Yeah.
one of those would be that FU money. Because
Yes.
when I got that phone call that I was being terminated, I didn't know what was next.
Right.
I didn't know. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But if I was prepared,
Yeah.
if I had budget, if I had a plan,
Yeah.
I would have felt I would have been able to sleep that night. And
Right.
I don't think I slept that night at all. So I love that you are teaching and educating your rich friends
Yes.
on how to just have these strategies in place.
Yeah, no, I love that you said that because when I was working my last corporate job, this was about 10 years ago. And we had so much turnover, just like what's going on in the economy now, right? I think they said over 300,000 Black women has lost their jobs in the last year, or maybe just in 2025.
Wow.
And so, and during COVID, so many people were furloughed where you weren't getting paid. So, what do you do when your job is ready to leave you before you're ready to leave? And that's where I found myself. So my last job, I was let go. And thank God I had my business, right? So I had a 6 figure business, but now I had to replace the 6 figure income that I had from my job, which was keeping me super comfortable. And I had been praying to God for more and, trying to make more in my business or, grow in my corporate career. And God said, it's your turn. So I got let go from my job. And I realized that, okay, I have money. So it gave me a little sense of security, but I realized that that I was not making any money unless I was working, right? And the only two ways that I thought in my head that I could grow my business was really just acquiring more customers. And I realized that, like I told you before, I just had a side hustle. So first thing I did was I found me a mentor. Found a mentor. He helped me build systems in my business. And this is what I help people do in their money, right? Because you need a money system. But I found a mentor to help me build system in my business, help me learn how to market to attract my ideal client, and really gave me the confidence to charge more, right? So where maybe, when I first started, I may have only been charging $300. Right now, I don't work with a client for under $1,000. And, really, I don't even accept new clients at this point unless we're on a 5 figure retainer. So,
Wow.
you learn how to structure your offers. You learn how to add more value. And girl, I'm so grateful for, being thrusted into full-time entrepreneurship because it really made me accelerate what I was doing with the money, right? Because I learned that I was just saving money to save. I learned that I had to now save money to invest.
That's good.
Right? And so I started to invest in real estate. I started to invest in other businesses. I had bought an Allstate franchise at one point. I had a restaurant. I started to invest in commercial real estate. I built my first property from the ground up. So I learned that money sitting is dead, right? Money is a currency. It's supposed to be moving. So yeah, I felt comfortable having a little money in the bank. But now what do we do to take this money and put some gasoline on it to accelerate that growth? And that's through investing, right? And so you can invest in, stock market, real estate, or businesses. And that's exactly what I help people, figure out what is the best way for you to go about investing that money that you saved.
That is amazing. Oh, that's powerful. You touched on something that I always push. And one of my biggest things is I started my community to walk on the journey with others, right? Because nobody was there for me. Like none of my family, my family is supportive. They're going to do whatever I need them to do. They're in my corner, but nobody's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really share my vision with anybody because they didn't understand the
Right.
language. Nobody really, was able to pour into my entrepreneur spirit. And so I started my community to be there for that person who needed the support, who needed the accountability. Talk about rich friends. Why
I
did
love
you
that.
start this
Yes.
community, and what are you doing inside of this community to pour
Yes.
into others?
Yes, yes. So in my rich friends community, I love it because it's exactly what you said. We get together, we talk about how we can number one share resources. I think that we've struggled in the past, Black people, to come together and build community. Community is super important. We are tribal people, so like we were born to support each other. But the system of America has taught us that we can't trust each other. We can't do business together, right? You don't want to do business with your family. So in this community, we learn how to work together. We learn how we can support one another. And then most importantly, we learn how we can get money, right? And like I said, money is a currency. So it's always moving. So if you are in the atmosphere where money is moving around, you can't run from it. So in this community, number one thing we do is support each other, right? So we're supporting you for your wins. We're helping you figure out what kind of investments are good for you. Also educating. Education is super important. I learned in my 20-year career on Wall Street that, most of our people just don't have the knowledge. They never learned what a budget is. Like literally 30, 40 years old, never had a budget in life. So we put that budget in place. We help you get access to six figures in credit, right? I believe that credit is literally the secret to building wealth. Credit gives you leverage. I wouldn't have been able to purchase these businesses that I've owned, purchase real estate without credit. We already use it to purchase cars. Or I saw another lady on your podcast say, her grandmother said, "Hey, let's go get this JCPenney's card. Every year when it's time for school, you take the kids shopping." And then, so we learn how to use credit for debt. I teach people how to leverage credit to build assets, right? Whether you want to invest in real estate. We have people that are in the car rental space. We have people that are purchasing and buying businesses. So, everybody has their own appetite. But you get your access to credit so that you can go and invest in that. We're also teaching people how to protect these assets.
Oh, that's good.
Asset protection is key, right? We're all first generation millionaires, not all of us, right? But most of us are first generation millionaires. So we don't have the tools. And, our other counterparts that are building businesses and building legacies, they use trust, right? They have wills, they have lawyers, they have attorneys, they have, I say that wealth building is a team sport. So that means that you need your team around you. You need an accountant, you need a trusted attorney, you need lawyers, right? You need these people that are going to help you when you get in a jam, or just, before you even start like your Access Granted podcast. Like, can I even use this word? Or will, somebody come after me because they own the trademark to the word access? So we teach business, entrepreneurship, investing, and financial protection, so that number one, we can save money on our taxes and then take that money to invest in our future and our legacy.
That is amazing. And I only want rich friends around me.
Listen, it's a energy.
Yeah,
it's a vibration.
It is. And my best friend just got approved for $200,000 in grant funding.
Oh, I love that.
For her business. And conversations are just different now. When you're able to sit down with your homegirls at brunch and you're able to talk about your next money move, you're able to talk about, strategies to help you grow, like what's working for you, where to put this money, how it can help you make more money. So
Right.
She got $200,000 in grant funding. Now she has a 7-figure business because she's been able to reinvest that money back into
So
her business.
powerful.
But that's the power of connecting with somebody that's
Absolutely.
doing the work and having rich friends around you to have those conversations.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to give you your flowers, and I appreciate you for being such a girl's girl. Like when I
Yes.
see you out, it's like, hey girl, let's take pictures. And you're just always so bubbly and full of just energy and connecting. And you don't see that a lot.
Thank you.
So, I know they're rich friends. I'm joining rich friends. I know that Rich Friends is going to be an amazing community. It's going to pour into people and give them strategies to elevate and go to the next level.
Yes.
You also have another just amazing magazine where you're highlighting the success of entrepreneurs. Can we dive into
We
that?
can dive
I
into
definitely
it.
think we want to
Yes.
touch on that a little bit. Let's talk about it.
So, throughout my career, I've met so many super dope people. I've met you, right? Some of my mentors and friends just along this journey, some of my clientele. And I've really been able to see the back end of business. And, in our Rich Friends community, yeah, we sit and we talk about, hey, I made $10,000 today. I made $100,000 today. I made $1 million today. I made $1 million last month. And, these conversations sound, so out of pocket for the average person. But, I wanted to bring these conversations to the everyday person, right? I felt like it was number one, I was inspired by my aunt. So my aunt has had her magazine my entire life. So my entire adult life. So probably for like the last 18, 20 years, my aunt has had a magazine. It was grassroots magazine out of our hometown. And she was just honoring people that were doing really great community work, right? And so I think it's important that, wherever you are in your life and in your journey, that you give people their flowers, just like you just gave mine, because the work that we do, we choose it, and really God chooses it for us. And it's hard work. And so whenever you can get a chance to give somebody their flowers, like you never know what that can do for them. Because for me, let me tell you, it is hard. I'm a wife. I'm the oldest of 8 siblings. And, sometimes I want to quit, right? But I have clients that are on my phone, right? We just did 50 interviews yesterday, but, you never know what that little bit of love can do for someone. So number one, I wanted to honor those that have helped me or that I've seen that are just doing amazing things in their journey. And two, I feel like it is my duty to share these stories. I feel like the financial revolution needs to be televised and somebody has to do it. So that's why I started the media company. It's called Black Wealth Weekly. And every single week, we highlight and honor an amazing CEO, entrepreneur, or investor to share their story on how they're building wealth. And it doesn't have to be an entrepreneur, right? Because I want to interview some professionals that, might be in tech, right? Make a couple $100,000. Now you're investing in real estate and you have a multi-million-dollar portfolio. Like these stories just go unheard. And we need to see that in order to believe that we can achieve it. I had one of the guys that I honored, he said that when he was younger, his mom made him do a book report and she gave him Ebony magazine. And in Ebony magazine, he saw all these successful people. He saw, lawyers, attorneys, real estate people. And he had never seen that before, right? You don't see that when you're a Black kid growing up in whatever city, right? Major metro in America. But he did this report and it opened his mind. So representation is super important. And I just felt like I needed to, this is almost like my community service. This is what God wants me to do to steward the relationships that I've had, give people their flowers, and also create that representation for, the younger generation that are looking up to us so that they can find their way to wealth.
I'm glad you said that, the younger generation. One thing I love about Atlanta is I have a 14-year-old daughter.
Okay.
And when we come to Atlanta, I'm able to connect her with people who look like her who are in different industries. So she's still trying to figure out where she wants. Is it medical? Is it law?
She's only 14.
She's only 14, right? she still has time. I'm not pressing her. I kind of.
But you want her to try.
I want
all
her to
the
try,
things.
right? But I'm able to show her Black women who are in tech. I'm able to show her Black women who are judges, who are
Yes.
lawyers, who are successful in,
So powerful.
and I'm able to show her successful entrepreneurs who are, 7, 8, 9 figure entrepreneurs as well. And I can see the glow in her face when she connects with somebody that looks like her.
I love
the
that.
glow in her face to say,
Yes.
it's just that push of I can do this.
Yeah.
And there are amazing people all over the world, but Atlanta is just right in your
Oh my
face.
gosh.
Like they just get it.
For me, my Rich Friends community is not just about me, right? Because we also educate you on how to turn your children into rich kids, right?
that's dope.
So I want to help people retire rich and raise rich kids. Those are my main two goals. And how I do that is bringing my son along on the journey. And so when he was 6, he actually wrote a book.
Oh, wow.
Called ABCs for Rich Kids. It can be found on Amazon bestseller.
Let's go.
Girl, and I love Atlanta as well, right? Because I feel like in the North, which is where I'm from, he grew up here in Georgia. He was born here. But in the North, Black people are taught to, kind of play safe in a white world. And here in Atlanta, you can unapologetically be yourself. You see, you have Black doctors that you can go and see. You have Black attorneys you can go and work with. And like you said, Black judges. So representation is so important. That's really the number one reason I started Black Wealth Weekly. And super excited to, have you on the cover. Make sure we
Let's do
honor you
it.
and give you your flowers. Because the work you're doing, getting people access to hundreds of thousands of dollars in grant funding, it is phenomenal. And girl, I all of my businesses have been funded by debt. So I'm looking forward to joining this community as well to see how we can start to add grant funding as a revenue stream in my business. So thank you for the work that you do.
That's why I teach it. Yesterday, or at InvestFest, I walked past the booth supporting the entrepreneurs that were there. And after our support, of course, I always introduce myself as, I'm Coach K. I help entrepreneurs get access to grant funding. And there was an amazing booth, but there was a lady who said, older lady, she said, I don't need any money. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, you see all this inventory? I don't need any money. And I said, well, let me, can I coach you for a second? I always ask for permission, right? Before I insert myself. I said, I'm a 7-figure entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I still apply for grants and get access to grant funding. Tesla is a $1 billion empire. They get access to grant funding.
Wow.
I said, so all of this inventory you have is amazing, but tell me more about you. And she started talking about all the people she helps and all the people she impacts. And I said, what if I could show you how to get access to grant funding to increase your impact? That's what grant funding is.
Yeah.
So most people think, oh, I got it. It's in my account, but think about how much more work you could do, how much more inventory you could get. Yes, you have an amazing setup at InvestFest, but what if you didn't have to pay for any of this, right? So a couple months ago, I went on just like a reset vacation, and I won't call it a vacation. I'll call it a workcation. And it was expense free for me because it was inside of one of my grant proposals that every quarter I travel for additional education or to network or additional opportunities for my business and my organization. My travel budget is inside of my grant proposal. You see what I'm saying? So you get access to grant funding for so many different things. And I teach it and I educate because we're just missing out on opportunities. And most people think, oh, I have to be a nonprofit. I have to be feeding the homeless. I have to be in the community. And although when you get access to grant funding, one of my strategies is to show you how to make an impact and how to do more.
Yeah.
But you can get access to grant funding just because of the ideas that you have in your head. So yes, I'm excited to help you on your journey for sure. But
I'm looking forward to it.
It just bothered me to my soul.
Well, so I think this is another issue, right, that we have is we are so short-sighted, right? Because yes, you have all this inventory, but you said this is an older woman. You're still working. What are we doing so that you can create income for life? We don't think about the future when, like earlier I said, okay, your job is leaving you, or maybe you want to leave your job, or maybe you want to leave your business. But what happens when you can't work? If you get into a car accident when you leave this event and, God forbid something happens that you can't show up tomorrow. So building income for life is super important for me. And I help people understand, like, there's so many gaps in your life that you're not planning for. And let's put something in place, because you can literally do it right now with $2,000. And maybe we can even put this in a grant budget, which we got to talk about.
Absolutely.
Yes, we got to talk about some strategies where people can, maybe invest in their retirement plans for their businesses or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great strategy
I'm
for
glad you
people to
touched
build
on
wealth.
that as well, because there are very few entrepreneurs who think about retirement
Yeah,
and have a plan in place
right.
to retire as an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur isn't forever, right? I want to retire. I don't
Hello.
want to coach forever. I want to be able to sit on the beach
Yeah.
and make my money while,
Let me
my
ask you a
phone.
question.
Okay.
How much money do you need before you decide to retire?
So for me, if I answered that question right now, I would probably say a couple million.
Like what? 10,
10,
20,
I would say about
100?
10, 20, about between 10 and 20 million. But if you would have asked me that question maybe a year ago, I would have been okay with a couple 100,000, right?
Mm,
So things have shifted, right? Anybody who knows my story, Coach K, the brand and the business has grew. I'm not going to say overnight, but very, very quickly,
very.
rapidly. A couple years ago, home was paid for, things were different, no debt. Now it's Coach K. We have a new house. We have a staff and employees and things like that we have to take care of. My mom just retired,
I love
so
that.
she's part of my, I'm not gonna say debt, but my expenses now. So things are just a little different. So
Yeah.
we would definitely, it went from a couple hundred
Yeah.
thousand to a couple million for
Right.
sure.
And so one, I guess what I would like to leave people with is know your number.
Yeah.
Right. We need to know what our number is. For the average American, I would say if you're looking to maybe have $5,000 a month of income for life, and you want to, safely be able to pull that out, they call it like a 4% rule, right? So the 4% rule says that you can safely pull out 4% of your nest egg and pretty much never run out of money, right? So if you have about 1.5 million put up, now you can pull out 60,000 a year. That's going to comfortably do that. But what shifted in my mind for me, one of my ladies that was like a mentor from afar, she said with 17 million, you can pull out $1 million a year of dividends. So 17 million for me, that's like a starting point. But I believe that we need that in cash, right, or in equities in the stock market. I also believe that you need $1 million of access to credit or funding. I believe that you need at least, $1 million in real estate, but that can include your personal home, that can include your rental properties. And then we
Good.
also need access to $1 million in grants if we could get it.
Let's do it. That's amazing.
Yes.
So before we exit out, I just want you to drop just a gem to, I always like to pour back into the person who needs that leap of faith, right? Who might be watching this, they're at home, maybe they just got off of work, maybe it's the weekend and they're trying to figure out what's next.
Yeah.
They need that push, they need that encouragement. What's a piece of advice that you have to the mother or to the working entrepreneur who just needs that rich friend to kind of pour into them?
Yeah. I would say go bigger, faster. Yeah, go bigger, faster, because at the rate that the economy and the world is growing, we're already so far behind. So you have to be fearless. You have to get unstuck and just try and go bigger, faster. And what that means is, yeah, we want to learn how to, slow walk our business and manage our risk. But when you find a mentor, when you get the strategy, you can literally catapult your wealth. You can catapult your business in under 3 years.
That's good.
So give yourself 3 years, lock in on your goals, and go bigger, faster.
I love that. You guys, this has been another amazing episode of Access Granted. I am so excited to see you in Rich Friends University. Is it Rich Friends University?
Rich Friends Club.
Rich Friends Club.
Yes,
My apologies.
yes,
I'm
yes.
excited to see you guys in a Rich Friends Club. Listen, I want you to take this link of this YouTube, share it with 3 of your rich friends, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you inside of Rich Friends.